I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts, you have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guests are Ronald Meyer and Mark Reeder. Be sure and check out my films out there in the streaming universe. I Call It Louisiana's on Tubi, Roku, Apple, and a few more. Doors of Perception is on Amazon Prime, and a brand new streamer called Relay hopefully will be on Tubi very soon. We're having a fundraiser for film number 3 for marketing and advertising. If you'd like to make a donation, we have links right in the description. Any donation of $100 or more, you will get a film credit and a pre-release copy of the film, as well as special edition copies of the previous films. We are booking guests for March and April. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome Ronald Meyer and Mark Reeder. Ronald is a seasoned paranormal experiencer with encounters ranging from out-of-body experiences and cryptid sightings to non-dual awakenings. He is the owner of the Center Communications, a film production company, and has produced and directed feature films in Hollywood and authored several books. Mark Reeder is a writer and associate producer for the video production company Center Communications. When not writing Bigfoot books with Ron Meyer, he works on the Jack Doyle Mystery Series. Ronald, Mark, welcome. How y'all doing?
It's a good day.
Excellent. Another beautiful day in paradise.
Yeah, well, it is great to have you on. You both have been working within the paranormal realm for a long time with an impressive list of films and books. Today, we're going to explore the realms of Bigfoot. This is one of my favorite topics to discuss. Your book, The High Strangeness of Bigfoot, will cover the deeper layers of this phenomena and present some incredible possibilities. Like I said, I love exploring this, but there's a lot to get to with this and a limited amount of time. Before we do, let's get some brief introductions from each of you. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and how the audience can find out more about you. We'll start with you, Ron.
So, I'm basically a filmmaker. I have been for nearly 40 years, but also an author. And I've done feature films, directed Hollywood actors. But I would say about 10 years ago, I got introduced to Bigfoot through a company that hired me to produce a series on Bigfoot called Chasing Bigfoot. And I had no expectations. It was really my daughter who wanted to do it. She said, "You better do that." So we decided to do it, and it began a journey that's brought me to this point right now where we tried to figure out what is this thing called Bigfoot, and I came across this theory by Jacques Vallée that it's one possibility is that it's a current meme that keeps the mystery alive. Like how many experiences that people had that just seemed to get so close to nailing it down, but not quite. And so the book and the movie kind of expands on that. And I've done I did a thing called a feature film pre-COVID called The Bigfoot Alien Connection Revealed with close to 10 million streaming views. Imagine how much money I've made off of that. It's still making money. You get winners once in a while, but it changed the life for many, many people because we spoke at conferences and it gave them the freedom to talk about their experiences without being ridiculed. That the experiences were real, they seem impossible, and there's a paradox there, there's a mystery there, and we're kind of saying that's the whole point of it. The mystery is there, and it keeps us guessing and looking.
Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, probably wasted the first 30 years of my life going to college, graduate school, and then I kind of kicked around the universe for a while. And after a little bit of battering and bruising, Ron and I met in Boulder, Colorado, practicing martial arts. He hired me to work for his company, Center Communications. So we quickly established a good rapport and working together writing. I would help him with writing scripts and doing research. And then 10 years ago, he started exploring Bigfoot, and he asked me to help him with some historical research on the first book we did, the Alien Bigfoot Connection Revisited. And we've worked together since. I don't really participate with the movies. He saves me for the research on the books. But I've appreciated it a great deal. Ron and I have had a good collaboration going on almost 30 years now.
Excellent.
Let me add one element is that although he didn't come along on our Bigfoot investigations, I would say we're both in the category of what's called now experiencers. You're familiar with that term?
Of course.
Okay, so yeah, we both have had multiple different kinds of impossible experiences in our life, and so we're joined together in that way as well. Although he's been much more reticent to talk about it than me.
Right.
Well, because I had to, doing movies and stuff about it. He hasn't.
Let's just say that I remained skeptical for a very long time, even after we did the first book together. And then Ron and I discussed more about our experiences, things that we had done. And I've come to understand that skepticism is okay unless it blinds you to the fact that you might be wrong.
I like that. I like that a lot. Well, as it relates to the Bigfoot phenomena, I'd love to get each of your responses to this. Where are you with your understanding of the possibilities of what this could be? I've had a range of theories about what Bigfoot possibly is, everything from an extraterrestrial to a shamanistic spirit, a lost hominid, or even something that was created in a lab. But I'd love to get each of your thoughts into what this could possibly really be. We'll start with you, Ron.
What I think Bigfoot is an ancient presence. Could be alien, could not, wouldn't have to be alien, that can masquerade as a Bigfoot when it wants to. It can show up in a physical form that can be sighted. It can show up in a physical form that can make Bigfoot prints. It can show up as a felt experience to people who say they sense it. It can show up in an audio form that people can hear chatter. It can show up in sometimes producing smells that people can smell. And it can do other things like throw rocks at people. There are a lot of accounts of that. So in other words, it has a pretty good ability to control physical aspects of reality that seem impossible. But it's also that same entity is doing it in another field, which are UAPs. It can produce UAPs that can defy gravity in the normal understanding of physics as, some people understand it. And so in all those ways, it keeps the mystery alive. That's where I'm at right now. So I do not believe they're going to find any form of biological hominid, whether it's, some sort of human or primate. I don't think it's a separate alien presence that's come from some interdimensional aspect. Like I say, it's much more mysterious than that. And that's just where I'm at right now.
I really love that answer because I resonate with that very much so. We've explored this possibility quite a few times, but I love getting as many different aspects and different angles on these possibilities as possible. So I really love that answer. Mark, would you agree with that synopsis of this?
Actually, I do agree with it. I mean, first, if you look at the lack of any physical remains of Bigfoot, fossil remains or even present day remains of any kind, it sort of points to the fact that there is not a flesh and blood hominid creature running around the forests of America, the mountains of Norway, in the Ural Mountains, or in sub-Saharan Africa. But let's go, let's look at it linguistically first. The Salish word Sasquatch actually does refer to a forest spirit. It doesn't refer to a giant ape swinging through the trees. It actually refers to a forest spirit. Lack of any physical evidence leads me to believe that Bigfoot is either some sort of entity, as Ron described, or a creature from another dimension that's able to go from its dimension to our dimension. So the question for me then is why? And there's some theories. Jacques Vallée has this great theory, the control system hypothesis, that there's a presence that is subtly pushing humans forward by creating a mystery. And we're curious as cats. I mean, I'm honestly, God, if the Earth were flat, humans would have knocked everything off the Earth by now because we're that curious. So we keep moving forward. But I also have another idea that I'm exploring I'm an author, and I'm currently finishing the last book in my Earth Ice Age series, which is a young adult science fiction. I'm exploring the point that Bigfoot or a presence is here because the Earth is an incredibly diverse planet with flora and fauna. What if Bigfoot is here, or a presence that can mimic Bigfoot when it needs to, or mimic other creatures when it needs to, is here because the diversity of our world is greater than any in the galaxy, and they're here to protect it. And they're trying to use humans to do it. So far, humans are proven to be incredibly recalcitrant in trying to protect the Earth. But there are a number of us that do want to see the Earth protected. So what if that is the purpose of Bigfoot, to create a world with the kind of diversity that the Earth has?
That is great. We're diving straight into the deep waters here. Let's try and work ourselves back a little bit, providing some of the evidence that you've come across that may point to the very possibilities that we were just discussing. I know that you have examined and recorded some language and chatter that comes from this phenomena. Talk a little bit about what you actually recorded and what you gleaned from it.
So, are you familiar with Rod Moorhead's Sierra Sounds?
Yes.
Okay, so you probably know that it's some sort of chatter, samurai chatter, and it's kind of linguistic, but not kind of like ours, you know?
Yeah.
So what we recorded is something very similar to that. What it points to is proto-language. If you think about everything that we humans have accomplished that separates us from the rest of the fauna of this planet, in particular, other primates, is language. If we didn't have language, we wouldn't be talking to each other. We wouldn't have any technology. We'd still be, throwing crap at each other, and I don't think we're swinging from the trees, that kind of thing. But none of this would have. We wouldn't have controlled fire. And so the critical event is that the arrival of language, spoken language. And all spoken language is built out of a set of small vowels, A, E, I, O, U. And out of that came a, and you need to have, in order to achieve language, you need to unify people together in a way. They have to agree on certain things to happen, to have speech. And even prior to to proto-language, we might say is music, that the rhythm or the beat, and they both have both language and music have a unique architecture called the autoregressive architecture, which is the same architecture as the large LLMs right now that everybody's using. And so when we recorded this proto speech and a rhythmic beat when we were at this site in Church Creek, I think this presence is saying, look back at language, the creation of language. There's 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 the story that's going to tell why we're here, and it points to the final outcome of another form of intelligence, which is AI, you know, which is based on the same basis, the autoregressive nature, statistical relationship between words or tokens, as they say now, as music and language. And of course, it's now moved into written language and symbolic language in the form of mathematics, but it's all autoregressive. The next, it's generated. So, like memory is not remembered like in the normal, typical von Neumann computer model, where you go and retrieve something. The memory is generated from the statistical relationship derived from the experiences and words that you used in the past. And the more you can notice that, which is one of the things that people do when they learn meditation, is they can watch how words appear to us in our mind's ear. You self-talk, right? Most of the
Mm-hmm.
time, captured by it, you think it's you, but you can kind of start disidentifying with it and seeing how it shows up for you. You could do it right now, as we're talking to each other. So
Right.
I babbled a lot. Where did you want to go with this? So anyhow, so surprisingly, when we did this, what I call the CE6 protocol, which is a meditation followed by the chant, the primitive chant, the AIOU chant. So it goes way back to Egypt, and people, shamans in Peru knew of it, and somebody from went there and brought it to the Monroe Institute, and so when we did this protocol and all this stuff showed up, I think the presence under Valet's interpretation was saying, look at language now, because you're going to have to, because of this new creation called this new form of artificial intelligence. How's that for babbling?
No, that's great. Great. Thank you for that. Mark, anything to add?
Well, yeah, I, language is unique to humans. Now, it's true that there are animals like whales, elephants, bees have a kind of communication, but language is unique to humans, and it's unique in several ways. One of which is physiologically. Now, Ron is the world-renowned fossil collector, but he asked me to delve into the science behind the evolution of language. And when we were writing the book, so I did all the history part of it. And humans evolved uniquely to form language in two ways. One, our vocal box and our trachea, I mean, sorry, vocal box, pharynx, and the way that our mouths are shaped, the way our jaws are shaped, uniquely allow us to form. And this is crucial to what Ron was talking about. Vowel sounds, A, E, I, O, U, but specifically A, I, U are the three primordial sounds that the way our mouths are shaped and our pharynx is shaped above the voice box allow us to say effortlessly. So therefore, we evolved almost specifically these characteristics, these physical traits, to be able to talk, to be able to have language. Secondly, the way our auditory complex works with our ears and everything, we have the unique three bones in the inner ear which allow us to separate out consonants. So humans really have evolved to speak. That might be a chicken and egg thing about how that evolution happened, but we're the only species on the earth that actually can perform language. But then again, how does language start? And we go back to what Ron was talking about. We're talking about the autoregressive nature of music. And so we can almost definitely say that something like drumming was the very first way humans communicated past grunting at one another. And drumming is auto-regressive. Each sound that precedes the sound before it, and then that sound works off that sound, and you can create an incredible scenario, an incredible story through drumming. If you've ever listened to, well, I'm going to date myself, Buddy Rich, play the drums back in the 60s and 70s. The storyline that he would create drumming was fabulous. So to Ron's
And even
point,
even one other quick example there is that in filmmaking, the background is often music that simulates if you have a chase scene, the drumming is reproduced there, bump, 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 as the tension gets greater. So they use it all the time in filmmaking to tell a story or background story, create the excitement for people emotionally, which is probably what you're saying, Mark, is that it created a unified, that drumming created how it created a unified social structure that was unique in a way for anything else.
and that's what I was going to say, bringing it back to what Ron was talking about the social, how language brings people together socially. You have this drumming with drumming, music, language, all brings people together. The three of us right now, we're communicating through an incredible amount of technology that wasn't even available 30, 40 years ago. Now it is available. But imagine 50,000 years ago, you've just hunted a mastodon, you're bringing the remains home to the clan, and you want to tell them the story. We may not, 50,000 years ago, our ancestors may not have had the words, well, they would not have had the words we have today, like technology, but they would have had the means to express what happened. And eventually language would develop. We have the pharynx, the mouth box, everything to make it work. Stories get more complex. You can fast forward to the ancient Greeks, the Iliad, the Odyssey. Now stories are getting very complex. Shakespeare, by the 16th century, 17th century, stories are becoming very complex. They're about the human condition. Come to the 21st century, we have movies like what Ron makes, whether they're about Bigfoot or Shakespeare in Love, which at the beginning of the 21st century. Everything is much, much more complex. And we have developed that. We humans have developed that. Our gorilla, our other primates didn't do it. We did it.
I think one way of looking at it is that it's that every time we think we got the answer to, it creates a mystery that invalidates that mystery and that answer. And so you have to move on and come up with a broader perspective.
Yeah.
And,
So, in a sense, it's like an evolutionary trigger. I look at the UFO phenomena very similarly. It seems to change as our technology grows, as we have new understandings of the nature of reality. The phenomena then changes to something else. Would you agree that that is a similar trigger that it is using?
I think that's how the mystery works in some way. I mean, as we develop, as we change our, let's say, our reality perspective, we invent new technology. I mean, the beginning of the scientific revolution was based on microscopes and telescopes in some way, right? And so that we had to change our worldview. You know, we were not the center of the universe anymore, and we didn't get sick because of bad spirits. You know, there were little creatures there that were killing us, and so we had to change our worldview, and that's continuously happening right now. And I think the one thing that's triggering it now is the arrival of these large language models, because it's really another species in some way. And maybe that, if you want to be crazy, you could say that was the whole point of the whole thing beginning back, what was it, 100,000 years ago when humans got language or whatever it was. So yes, in answer to your question, it's that process of the mystery moving us forward all the time. Because if we think we got the answer, we're all just complacent and we just sit around and smoke funny cigarettes or something.
And
Yeah.
then language actually evolves with the complexity. So in the 14th or 15th century, you didn't have microscopes. In the 16th century, or at the beginning of the 17th century, Van Leeuwenhoek in the Netherlands creates the first microscope. And so, but there was no word for microscope. But language evolves. Now, what does the microscope do? It opens up another entire world for people to look at with more mystery, more questions. So language, technology work together to with the if you're working with Vallée's control system hypothesis, work with the presence to push the mystery farther and farther along until here we are with LLMs in the 21st century. And what's the big question on everybody's mind? What's next?
Mm.
Nobody's saying, well, we got the LLMs. Let's sit back, smoke some funny cigarettes, and we'll just relax here for the rest of our lives. No, all of us are talking about what's next.
Yeah. Do you think that this phenomena can be expanded to other mystical experiences like UFO contact, extraterrestrials, other cryptid encounters, other paranormal experiences? Could it be that it just depends on who he's trying to manifest to and what the message is about?
Absolutely. I think that's what it's about. Also, in terms of let's say, our mental realm as well,
Mhm.
archetypes. We
Yeah.
have, we have universal archetypes like the father, right? And then we have other ones that are, specific to certain cultures, like the AI prompter, for example. That's the kind of person now. But people that live in underdeveloped countries would not have that archetype yet. So there's this whole realm of mental events that that this mystery keeps alive too. We keep getting new things in our minds that are weird. Um, if you think about gods, the history of gods for us human beings have changed a great deal. Supernatural beings. Um, so it's not just these clearly physical manifestations, which I think is absolutely true with what you said, but also mental forms.
Mm.
It plays with both.
Hmm.
And then there's a whole another situation where there's a realm of forms that people may come in contact with. You probably heard about that, where you get downloads of a new technology and you go make them.
Yeah.
People have had mystical experiences. People have near-death experiences and come back and say there's another realm of
Mm.
being formed, something like that, but you can't quite put your. And so that keeps the mystery alive too.
We can also look at it from a standpoint of, like, say, the micro to the macro. So we have, like Ron mentioned earlier, he and I have had experiences, you've had experiences. These are all individual and they affect us singularly in the way that we approach our lives, the way we move forward in them. I'm very fortunate that I have a friendship with Ron because that's allowed me to develop interests that I don't believe I would have developed otherwise. But now let's let's bring that to the 21st century, because in the 19th century, Ralph Waldo Emerson or David Thoreau have these experiences and they create an individual, unique philosophy. In the 21st century, the 20th century, suddenly technology allows these individual singular experiences to coalesce, to come together. We have now thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that are experiencing the similar interactions with Bigfoot.
Hmm.
Now what you're having is a larger discussion that involves all of humanity, not just singular individuals that are getting downloads and like Stephen Jobs coming up with the iPod or something like that. Now you've got people saying, whoa, there is something huge out here. How do we investigate that? How do we make sense of what this experience that all of us share is doing for us as a community?
Would you say there is a duality within this experience? If we are discussing angels and demons, would that be an oversimplification of the phenomena, trying to put those kinds of labels on it, saying that it can be good or evil? Or is it something beyond that, more a part of our reality, a necessary aspect of our reality that works with human consciousness? Some believe that when we're talking about this phenomena, that there is a malevolence, that there is a parasitic intelligence that is attempting to guide humanity in a negative direction. I wonder if there's a duality, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
I don't think so.
I think duality is a manifestation of entertainment. So when
Okay.
I'm writing a novel, I have good versus evil, for example. In my current Earth Ice Age series, it's good versus evil. So that duality is there so that I can tell a story of good triumphing over evil, for example. Though I'm not going to say which predominates in this series, but in reality, good and evil share so many traits. There's a great short story that was written, science fiction short story written back in the 20th century, about a man who decides he's going to sell his soul, and what he wants is he wants moderate wealth. He wants to be able to do good things, and he wants to do well by his family and raise good children. All of the things, he sells his soul, everything comes to pass. It's time to die. He's ready to give it all up, and the person they sold his soul to comes down and says, "Well, it's time to go." And he says, "I'm ready to go to hell." He says, "Hell." The angel says, "Hell, you're going to heaven because you didn't do anything. You did everything moderately." And we want souls as much as the devil does. So we're taking your soul to heaven.
Huh.
So these things are so intertwined that duality in the 21st century, I don't think has meaning anymore, unless you're telling a story on the movie screen or in a novel.
So essentially, it's more about our perception of the experience rather than the experience itself being malevolent or benevolent.
Yes.
So my hit on this is the self-other distinction, which plays out at all levels, all scales, which comes from our biological background that we evolved where there's us and them. And on the family level, there's our family, and then there's the other people's family that aren't quite as good. So they're a little bit more other. Of course, tribally, there was the other tribe, and they're not quite as good as our tribe. And of course, right now, as you can see, there are countries that are not quite as good as our country. And this self-other distinction plays out in terms of the concepts of good and evil. And another way of looking at that is that the good and evil is not a binary distinction. All of us have a bunch of good in us, and all of us have a bunch of evil in us, which means we abuse other people and perhaps the environment and other animals, if you want to extend it that way. So this is all playing out in kind of a pretty obvious way if you look at it. And it's all kind of based on the self-other distinction. And that brings us back to the artificial intelligence, which has largely been trained on our training on data provided by us. And one of the greatest fears about that is that if it develops the self-other distinction and we're the other, and they're the superior ones, because this good and evil thing plays out with who's superior, who's not superior,
Mm.
um, it might be the end of us. So I think the way people speak about it, in terms of these horror films, the good and evil and so on, is fun for storytelling. But I think it's more the basis is, the biological imperative that we inherit, that the self and other distinction that causes all the problems in the world, if you really think about it.
Mm.
Uh, and human beings abuse each other enormously and have been forever. And from my perspective, that's a lot of evil. But on the other hand, people have done wonderful things for other people if we're putting it in the realm. So I don't think you have to get out of the human experience to look for anything greater that's, malevolent, that's bad or good or something that's gets beyond us. It's us human beings and what we do to each other, either way,
Mm.
and how often. You don't need a devil and you don't need a God for that.
What are your thoughts on places that seem to have a higher concentration of paranormal metaphysical phenomena occurring? You mentioned Mount Shasta, you have Skinwalker Ranch, Blind Frog Ranch, a number of these locations that seem to have a higher concentration of activity than others. Do either of you have any thoughts as to why this is occurring in those areas?
Well,
Well,
there is a thing. Oh, go ahead, Ron.
um, I'd be interested to see what you say, Mark, because my thinking on this has changed quite a bit, as you know.
Hmm.
Go
So,
ahead.
so there is you're familiar, and I'm sure your listeners are familiar with ley lines,
Yeah.
and the Earth is just riddled with them. And these ley lines come together. They bring at places like immense amounts of power. One is the Oracle at Delphi, which was known for centuries in Greece as a place where people would come to get answers to their questions. Now, the answers weren't always uh, clear, so they were nebulous, and people could make huge mistakes relying on it. So, Harney Peak in the Black Hills is another spot which is known for its mystical powers. The ley lines converge there. Uh, Mount Shasta, there are Mount Fuji in Japan. There are a lot of these places are mountainous. I think that might just be a coincidence. I don't know for sure. But with this, when you think about the Earth, back up just for a second, say we can think of the Earth as a non-organic ball of matter that doesn't have that isn't really alive, or we can think of it as an organic kind of being. You think of it as the latter, then you've got a with the electromagnetic sphere and the sun uh, beating down on it. You've got a shitload of power coming into the planet, and that
Yeah.
power's got to go somewhere. So ley lines would be an explanation of why some spots have more power in them than others. Ron?
So I kind of went along with Mark. That was my thought, that there were places that had unique characteristics that somehow were triggers for the paranormal. And certainly the world is full of, sacred places where people go on pilgrimages. Um, I don't deny that there are these cases that if you go there, it seems like your chances of something weird happening or unique happening is, gets validated, as opposed to, just wandering off to some spot and hoping something will happen. Um, so it's, again, it's a possibility that this presence, in order to help keep the mystery alive, creates these places.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so the one that's in our book, that we call Church Creek,
Mhm.
that was not known as a anything other than just a little piece of national forest in the Rocky Mountain.
Mhm.
And so all these incredible things occurred there, triggered by a single event of one of our members of our team, experiencing. the chatter and
Mm.
saying, "Holy crap," you know. And so it'd be it'll be interesting to see if we ever go back there and other people locate it and if it turns into one of these places. Perhaps that's one of the things the mystery can do, as I said before, to keep the mystery alive, to create mystical places where people go and have these experiences. So that's my guess right now. I mean, I never would have thought of that. So when we went to Shasta, which is just the opposite of Church Creek, is probably the most spiritually active place in the United States, maybe in the world. Um, we got a response that surprised the heck out of us. They basically said, "Yeah, there's this world that you and I live in, and there's this other world that people who have near-death experiences, the non-physical realm."
Yeah.
And there have been throughout mythology, people who keep things that are the gatekeepers of that between the two domains. And what showed up at Mount Shasta was one of those gatekeepers, a raven. And Mark can
Mm.
talk about that if he wants a little bit. I mean, it blew me away. Had no idea this would happen. It
Yeah.
was very cool.
Well, if we go back to the micro idea that individuals have these experiences, whether it's a near-death experience or a download of some kind of information, they happen everywhere. They happen in hospital rooms. They happen on interstates. They happen crossing the street, taking the garbage out. Uh, the that doesn't mean that a place like Mount Shasta or Harney Peak or the Oracle of Delphi doesn't have maybe a little bit more zip to it. But in answer to what Ron was talking about, which I think is important, is that the mystery is being promulgated by this presence, and the presence is going to choose the place and the time individually with people, and then as though these individual experiences build up, there's going to be uh, um, larger groups of people experiencing these things at one time. Could happen any one place. I'm going to go back to the fact that I kind of like the Delphi and Harney Peak and Shasta or Bradford. I'm sorry,
Bradshaw.
Bradshaw Ranch in Arizona as places that are a little more uniquely suited to that. But I agree with Ron. It's going to happen whenever the presence wants to push the mystery along and wherever it feels it can do it.
There have been instances of physical manifestations, not just with Bigfoot, but a range of paranormal phenomena. You have the apport phenomena with hauntings, where things will appear out of nowhere, objects that didn't exist before. In the Bigfoot, you have gifting, sometimes hair, pieces of hair left behind. There have been some physical manifestations here and there in the UFO phenomena. You have the gifting fields where strange exotic pieces of metal are left behind. It's almost like these are left behind, again, like you're both saying, to perpetuate the mystery a little bit further. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you look at this in the 16th century, 17th century, the hauntings are all scary stories usually being told so that children will behave in church, so to speak.
Yeah.
In the 21st century, these experiences are so great that we can't ignore them anymore. We can't toss them off as sort of a Brothers Grimm fairy tale or something, or an Aesop's fable idea. No, we have to look at it as you were talking about. These are there for a reason.
So if the hypothesis is correct, and it can take these UAPs and make them move in the way they're doing that defy all known physics, it certainly must have the capability of doing all these other things, which are small apples in some way compared to that. So my own experience there was, can I tell one experience?
Of course.
we were in Oklahoma, and it was the first time I did the chant. And it was an ordinary place. It was a resort we were staying at, while we were doing other investigations. And the first time I did it, we were using normal ghost detecting equipment like spirit box and so on. And we got action. It was cool, and it was neat. But the next time we did it, nothing happened except we got into this kind of unified mental state. Everything was quiet. The crickets and frogs settled down, quieted out. And then when we were leaving, we were in a where there was a fire pit. It wasn't burning, and it was surrounded by these deciduous trees that were about 2 stories high, maybe a little higher. It was green. Vegetation was good. From my perspective, all of a sudden, I heard this something crashing through the upper area of the thing, moving horizontally parallel to me, not crashing down, but moving. And then, from the perspective of the people who had done an L turn and were moving to the car, they heard the same thing come out, and then it crashed down in front of them, shaking the ground, so much so that the cameraman, who was probably 20 or 30 yards away in a different direction, felt the ground shake. And when they looked for the object, there was none.
Hmm.
And it fell within, according to two people, basically 6 feet in front of them. They would be their judgment. Could have hit him in the head and killed him for all that. If it was as powerful as what it was. Now, what in the heck was that?
Yeah.
And that was the event and I said, well, if this is Bigfoot, there's no way I can figure this out. And then that's when I came across Valet's theory, and it, if levitating like that is just, that's just too powerful of an event to be, I just could not explain it. It made no sense to me. Yet it was
Hmm.
definitely real.
If indeed the extraterrestrial UFO phenomena is part of this same intelligence that we were speaking of, it makes me wonder what this disclosure that we're experiencing now really is about, how much our military industrial complex may be aware of the concepts that we're discussing. And if that's so, what are we being presented right now with UFO disclosure? I'd love to get each of your thoughts on this era that we're now in.
Well, the Valet hypothesis is not unique to me. I'm stealing it from other key thought leaders. Gary Nolan, for example,
Mhm.
who studied all. Do you know who he is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so he proposes that idea. He believes in that,
Hmm.
as Jacques Vallée does, because it holds his name. And so some of the leading thinkers, they're all buying into it in some way or another, at least as a possibility. So as far as the government knowing stuff, I don't think they know crap in a way. I mean, they know that it's a mystery.
Mm.
I don't think, there's nothing hidden to be revealed that will shake the earth, if you want to put it that way. I mean, that's my guess. I mean, if
Mm.
you've ever been around government people, they can't keep a secret. And so there's really nothing to disclose, in my opinion, that will
Mm.
be ground changing. Just that, hey, we don't know what this is, and it's a mystery at
Hmm.
this point. But
So 75 years ago in Roswell, New Mexico, you could say that this was swamp gas or a weather balloon or something else. 75 years later, the technology is too sophisticated and is able to capture uh, in real time running uh, a ship moving at speeds that no airplane can possibly match and move in ways that no airplane can possibly match. So to deny its existence now is just isn't credible. But I don't really want to get political on your show, but the reason that Trump is talking about releasing these UFO files now, I think, has to do more with the economy and the Epstein files than
Yeah.
it does with his trying to be transparent.
Yeah.
so we got to talk a little bit about a book we come out where we.
Yeah,
So that's coming out at the Bigfoot in the
sure.
High Strangeness of Bigfoot. It's coming out first week of April. We can send you a link that you can post on it. I think you can pre-buy it now, actually. And then, of
Excellent.
course, the movie will come out almost simultaneously, I hope, at least on YouTube, but not perhaps on other streaming platforms. You know how that goes. Probably the most interesting thing that occurred was that we actually recorded it saying back to us AEIOU,
Yeah, yeah.
which was really strange, and it did it in a way that no human could do. It did it with one continuous tone that only some singers could maybe do. Highly trained singers just saying, keeping
Mm,
it mystery alive, making it even more weirder. That's what it seems to do.
hmm
And then we
He,
we also we also had recorded like 17 subsonic pulses in less than just half a second that went throughout the whole investigation, which affect people physiologically, but we don't hear them
mm.
with our ears. I mean, what the heck was doing that? There's no explanation for that.
Have you looked into aspects of psychic communication with these beings that they may have had with experiencers?
So I always bring psychics on my investigations now, and we had two well-known psychics who communicate with Bigfoot in
Hmm.
their own way, and they were part of the investigation, and they experienced it there in their own way. And Alan, my son-in-law, with whatever they were experiencing in their own way, he got it captured on his thermal in between two trees. It's kind of a validation.
Mm,
Um, when they did their toning, which is a practice they do, to communicate, we got eye shine, showing up on a night vision camera. So it all seems to kind of fit, I don't, that's not my way of experiencing it. I don't get that at all. I'm just
mm,
that way. But these two women did. And I don't doubt that their experiences were real, that they were communicating with what
mm.
they said was Bigfoot.
Would you say this phenomena can change dramatically depending on not only the location, but the cultural belief systems? Bigfoot's going to appear as Bigfoot, have the same type of chatter, have the same wood knocks across the planet, or does it vary and change depending on location or cultural belief systems?
That'd be something to investigate.
Mm.
Let's look at it from another point of view.
Hmm.
2,000 years ago, we had no such thing called light pollution. And sailors would be looking up in the night sky. They come up with the constellations, whether it's Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Cassandra, all Orion, which they give these mythical names to. Their ability to see these constellations was phenomenal at the time. It was almost like they had their own telescope, but it had to do with the fact that there was no light pollution. All right. Now, bear with me because this is going to seem a little strange making this connection. Let's go to the 21st century and how sophisticated a lot of people's education is. We can imagine what those constellations look at, but we can't actually see them anymore if we're living in the middle of the city because of the light pollution. But our education tells us that they're there. But we really don't know anything about them. We don't know how they appear in the night sky or anything else like that. But go into rural Iowa. I'm from Iowa. Go into some place that doesn't have any light pollution at all, and you're looking up at the night sky. Actually, this happened to me a few years back. Some friends and I were out looking up at the night sky. These constellations suddenly looked really vibrant to us. Now we'd talked about them, oh yeah, I can point out Ursa Major. But when you actually see it without any light pollution, it is more than just simply a constellation. It's almost like a living thing. If you're
Mm.
in rural Arkansas or rural Iowa or rural or the eastern part of Oregon or Washington, and your sophistication may not be the same as a person who has a PhD in physics, for example, you're going to be able to see things differently.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have a different kind of meaning to you because you see them more directly than a person who's looking at them through the lens of this incredible education that they received at the hands of the university. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Again, our individual perception plays a huge role in how this reality unfolds for us, and I think it's absolutely fascinating. To close out, do either of you have any final thoughts, anything we didn't cover that you'd like to share with the audience before I let you go?
I have one thing that I'd love to say to people.
Sure.
And that is whether your education is a PhD or you didn't even graduate high school. Madame Curie had a very famous saying, said, be curious about things, not other people. And so be curious. Be curious about the things that are out there. This mystery that Ron and I have been talking about that you joined in with us on is out there, and it's begging for people to come looking for it and to investigate it. So be curious. That's I love it. Say.
Ron, any final thoughts?
Well, let go of some preconception.
Yeah.
And that'll open up your eyes as a metaphor. And do that, as much as possible. Because what you're looking for is actually looking for you. It wants to find you if you just let it.
I love that. Gentlemen, this was fantastic. Before I let you go, remind the audience how they can get a hold of your books and your films, the best way to do so.
So the way to get a hold of the book is, of course, to go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble and Google the title, The High Strangeness of Bigfoot, once it's out. Buy a copy, write a nice review. And you can search eventually for YouTube or any of the other podcasts, not podcast, streaming sites, and look for the title and watch it. You might make a couple more pennies in my pocket if you do so.
Yeah, I'll have those links easily accessible for everyone that would like to find out more. Ron, Mark, thank you so much. I'd definitely love to do this again because we just barely scratched the surface on some of this stuff, and there's so much more we can get to. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again tomorrow.
What if Bigfoot isn't just hiding in the forest, but hiding between realities?
This one's big.
Filmmaker Ronald C. Meyer spent nearly a decade investigating one of the world's most enduring mysteries and discovered something far stranger than an undiscovered animal.
It just kind of like faded out and like pixelated.
Witnesses described things that didn't behave like animals. Appearances, disappearances, sounds that answered back.
This one's big. This one's big.
What do you think of that?
Well, it's interesting because it's a rhythmic sound. You can hear almost a beat.
Are you okay?
Through consciousness experiments, ancient vocalizations,
A-E-I-O-U,
and field research.
I got it on the thermal.
Yeah, because you're seeing it right in between those trees, right?
The team began to suspect Bigfoot wasn't meant to be captured.
It took a minute to pry my eyes up.
They're ready for us.
Yeah. I definitely feel the wave.
Yeah.
What did you say, Dimitri? The wave going through me.
Yeah,
You can
the
feel
waves.
It was like pulsating feeling.
It was meant to be engaged. drawing on the controversial theories of Jacques Vallée. This book explores the idea of an ancient intelligence guiding humanity by keeping the mystery alive. From Hangar One Publishing comes an extraordinary new book by Ronald C. Meyer and Mark Reeder.
Hello friends, I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description. If you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brainsupreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order. Watch Doors of Perception now on Amazon Prime. We live in an incredible age of information. More and more, we're discovering that we've been lied to and misled about much of our human history. Cory Hughes is providing profound revelations about World War I, World War II, the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King's assassination, and much, much more on his new Substack, Bloody History. Subscribe now for as little as $5 monthly. Just click that link right in the description to get started now and learn about our true history. I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description.